Hello and welcome to day 5, the last day of the Becoming Magnetic AF challenge. How are you feeling? How did you get on with yesterday's exercise where you met the inner critic? I hope you were able to turn what the inner critic says to you around into what your inner best friend says to you. And I hope that it's really helped. So what are we going to cover today in this last day of the challenge? Can you believe it? We're going to talk about speaking authentically. Now I'm grinning because this is the thing that I struggle with the most. I still struggle with it. Now, if you don't have a problem with speaking authentically and you're not a people pleaser and you tell people how they really feel, you probably don't need to do this video, but you could have a listen anyway. But it is a particular problem with me, mainly because of my background being in a religious cult and being taught to just nod and say yes and accept things and not question things. So it turned me into a people pleaser. So I really struggle with telling people how I really feel. And I think it's just going to be a constant work in progress for me. It probably will be for you. But the connection between what you are saying, how you are saying it, what you believe, it's about showing your listener your true self through your words, your voice, and body language. So that's what we're going to learn to do today. Why have we learned how to not say how we really feel? Like, why are we like this? So as I said, for me, I know it's because of my religious cult background, but I think it's also to do with we feel like we're responsible for other people's feelings, like we've got to take care of them. So we're dead careful in what we say because we don't want to upset people. I think that's a big one for me. But we don't. And we need to let go of this need that we've got to caretake other people's feelings because we're grown up, they're grown up. Let's allow ourselves just to be grown up and have adult conversations. If you were for a background where you weren't really heard as well and you weren't encouraged to say how you felt, like that wasn't a thing when you were growing up, then this will be a problem for you as well. But what I want you to learn from the exercise today, there is a way of speaking our truth with kindness and love and authenticity. So you can learn how to say how you really feel in a certain way, which is what the exercise is going to be about. So how will speaking more authentically make you more magnetic, attract positive things into your life? Well, there's a saying that I love. If you're not speaking it, you're storing it. So if you're not speaking it, you're storing it. So particularly if somebody's upset you and you don't express to them that they've upset you, you're like a pressure cooker. You're just holding it in and in and in until one day you're going to explode. You'll burst. You just build all this resentment up until you burst. And speaking your truth, even though it might feel really uncomfortable while you're doing it, afterwards you will feel liberated. And it's not just about making you feel better. Speaking your truth will actually make a difference to the other person you're speaking to as well, and it could bring you closer, like make your relationship closer. So, it's not just about us, it's about the other person too. And the one big thing to remember, which I need to tell myself a lot, is it's okay if the person gets upset with you or doesn't agree with you. Oh, that makes me cringe as I said it, just because I'm a people pleaser. But let's say that again. It's okay if the person gets upset. It's not the end of the world if they get upset. Rebecca, I'm talking to myself. It's not the end of the world if the person doesn't agree with you. Because one of the things that the pattern that I've grown into is there should never be arguments or conflict, and I try and keep everything happy and everybody happy, but it's impossible. And when there is a conflict or an argument, I'm on the floor, devastated, feeling terrible. But it's learning that it's okay if other people get upset and there's an argument. It's all right. It's not the end of the world. Okay, I think we've hit the nail on the head there. It's also about getting it right. So you don't want to be rude. as in walking down the street and going up to somebody and saying you don't like their hairstyle. It's not about being right when you speak in your truth. It's about sharing your experience with that person. So an example, being right would be saying to them, you're rude, and not saying anything else. Telling them your experience, as in, when I'm around you, I get scared because I worry you might say something that will hurt my feelings. Or I get angry because I don't like some of the things you say and do. In other words, I sometimes don't feel safe or comfortable around you. And if you notice in that, and this is something I learnt when I was doing my counselling training, you don't say you make me feel. So you don't say when you're around me, you make me feel scared. When you're around me, I get scared. Because if you use the word make me, they feel like you're accusing them then, and it gets their back up. So there's ways to say these things. Now, you speaking your truth, particularly if you're not used to it, it's not going to be a quick fix, this. It's not going to happen overnight. It's something you've got to practice over and over again until you're comfortable with it. And will you mess it up? Of course you will. Will you say the wrong things sometimes? Yes. Will people get upset, offended, or defensive? Absolutely. This isn't about being perfect. It's about you expressing yourself authentically. So what I want to do is just give you some examples of how to kind of verbalize. And just use these roughly. You don't have to go word for word copying what I'm saying. It's just a rough guide to kind of using the correct words. So if the example is, if a friend wants you to go out on a bender and you're not up for it, one way that you can tell them that you're not up for it is, that won't work for me, or I can't do that. We're not making excuses. We're not saying, I'll go out with you on another date. We don't need to do that. I'm laughing because that is totally what I would do. And then another good way to tell them that you're not up for it is to say, your need is to go out all week on a bender, but my need is to save money and be fresh on a Monday morning. Because then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm being a bit selfish. And you can use that with other scenarios. Your need is, my need is. So one example I can think of is maybe your partner, you've got children, your partner on Christmas Day wants to go out and play golf with his mates, and he asks you if it's okay. So you say, your need is to go out and play golf with your mates. Your family's need is to have their father with them on Christmas Day. Just another way of using that, your need is, my need is. A really good way of getting the other person to think about the situation. One thing you can also do is write out. So if somebody's upset you, you've come home, you've not spoke your truth, get a pen and paper and write out how you want to tell them. Or ring a friend and get some advice on how to tell them. But then make sure you go back and tell them that they've upset you and this is why. Because if you don't, pressure cooker, building up resentment, not good for you, anxiety, stress. Maybe you're at a party or you're out and a friend is trying to get you to stay out and you don't want to. I had a lovely time, but it's getting late and I have to rest. So no excuses, no apologising. I had a lovely time, but it's getting late and I have to rest. Somebody wants you to do something that you're not up for. Let's think of an example. All I can think of is being asked to go out again, just because I used to be a massive partier, but I don't drink anymore. So that is not a thing that I enjoy. So this is one that I need to learn to say. I just like going out on walks and doing things in the day. So something that you wouldn't have the time and energy to do that somebody might want you to do. So I've got to go and clean for my mum because she's not very well. Can you come and help me with the cleaning, please? So what you could say to that scenario is, thank you, but I don't have the time and energy for that right now. The first thing you'd want to do, because I felt it, is go, I'm really sorry. But no, we're not having that. You don't need to apologise. Thank you, but I don't have the time and energy for that right now. And of course you can say, I hope your mum feels better soon. You might, so an example on this one, when I was doing an away day for my counselling course, we had to do lots of different exercises throughout the day. And I did an exercise which I really didn't enjoy, but I was determined. I said to myself I was going to take part in all the exercises. And afterwards, I felt really off kilter. I was told when we were in the group session, I told the teacher, and she was like, you didn't have to take part in that. And I thought, damn it, why didn't I just say at the beginning I'm not doing this exercise? It feels uncomfortable. So one of the things I could have said there was, I'm not going to participate because I don't want to. No, explanation of why, which is probably what I would have done. I'm not going to participate because I don't want to. And that is perfectly fine to say. So that's another great one. So what I want you to do using the workbook and writing notes is think of a time where you didn't speak your truth in the past and write that situation out and what you said. And then I want you to think, what if I would have said it this way? And write out what you wish you'd have said to the person. It's a really good way of starting to rewire your brain. Another example, you might get a text message off a friend saying, want to grab dinner tonight? So one thing that you can put back to them is, I can't tonight, but would love to see you soon. So we've not apologised. You're not thinking it's mean. You're just putting boundaries in place. You've not justified yourself or set up another date and time for a meal. You've just said, I can't tonight, but I would love to see you soon. So hopefully, there's some examples that you can use so that when you get these situations coming up in the next few weeks or in the future, you've got an example you can use. But I want you to practice saying these things, because otherwise when that event comes up, you'll be stuck for words. So have a practice, rehearse saying these words. As I said, you might not have a problem with speaking your truth. So it's like me teaching you to suck eggs if you're okay with all of this. But this is the kind of stuff that I find really helpful. So if you're a people pleaser, this should really help. So go and do that exercise in the workbook. But that is it. We've completed the 5-day Becoming Magnetic AF challenge. Well done. Give yourself a big pat on the back. Now, after this challenge, I expect you to be walking down the street, attracting the right people to you, attracting amazing opportunities. Doors are going to open wide to you. And remember, you can do this exercise as often as you want. So you could do it once a month if you like. Just go to my YouTube channel and repeat the videos again with the workbook. I'd love to know what you thought of the challenge. So it would be great if you could drop me an email, give me some feedback. My email address is libramoons2018. So that's all one word, libramoons2018@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. I'd really appreciate that. Now, I just want to end with another card from the Metatron Oracle deck by Amanda Ellis. And it's got to be this one, hasn't it? Authentic self. Who are you? I'm hoping that you now have a good idea of who you are. And this card is telling you now that you've done this challenge, it's time for the mask to fall away and to recognise and appreciate who you truly are. And the deepening of that relationship with your authentic self started with this challenge, and now it's going to deepen further going forward. And I want you to now look in the mirror and see the real you.